Hey Harmony House, welcome to another chapter book story time. Go ahead and get cozy. I've got my blanket right here with me. So in our last chapter, in chapter 16, Carter and his friends Layla and Theo and Ridley had just discovered that they think Bazo is planning to steal the real Star of Africa, which is the diamond that's being kept at the Grand Oak Resort. They think he's going to steal it and replace it with a fake one because Carter and Layla found a fake diamond in his room. So they ran back to Vernon's magic shop, and Ollie and Izzy tagged along because they want to help. Ollie and Izzy are the twins that they met at the Grand Oak Resort that do comedy and dance. And they told Mr. Vernon what they found. And he didn't have a whole lot to say, and I think they were a little surprised by that. They wanted his help, but he basically just said, "You can handle this." And all he said he was going to do was to talk to an old friend named Bobby. So we don't know who that is, but maybe we'll find out. They also don't want to go to the police because they saw Bazo paying the sheriff. And they think that Bazo is paying the sheriff to basically look the other way and pretend like he doesn't notice any stealing happening, and basically paying the sheriff to not arrest them. So right now they've decided Mr. Vernon's not really helping them. They don't think they can trust the sheriff, and so they're going to make a plan. And that is where we left off. So, chapter 17. The Grand Oak was bustling with action when the Misfits arrived. Hundreds of people had descended on the resort to see Bazo's big final show. Maybe they'd been drawn by talk of his big top show, or maybe they were curious about the Star of Africa. The crowd was overwhelming, and the lines were long. "This way," Layla said, heaving her giant backpack higher on her shoulders. All of the kids had a large pack filled with everything they needed. "We can get in using the service stores in the back." "Nothing but the best for the Grand Oak's brightest upcoming stars," Ollie said sarcastically. "At least our fans won't attack us for autographs," Izzy joked. "Plus, we can drop by the kitchen to pick up some of the goods for our show," Ridley added. The six Misfits made their way through the resort to the Grand Oaks Grand Theater. As they approached, Theo was the first to notice the ticket takers. "Oh no," he said. "We don't have tickets." "Tickets schmickets," Ollie said. "You have something better than tickets. You have us." "We know this theater like the back of our hands," Izzy said. "Follow us." As they passed through the corridors, Carter noticed police officers at every exit. Seeing so many of them made Carter want to vanish all over again. Inside the auditorium, the seats and curtains were all red velvet, and the walls were trimmed in gold. In the left rear corner, behind a thick column, the twins led the Misfits through a hidden door behind wallpaper and wood paneling. Inside the small room was a ladder leading into the ceiling and a long, narrow hallway wide enough for one person that seemed to spiral downward into darkness. "Up goes to the catwalk," Izzy noted. "A catwalk?" Carter asked, wondering why a theater would need a place for cats to walk. "It's a series of platforms that hang by cables over the stage where the crew arranges the lights and directs special effects for the performance." "Oh, right," Carter answered, nodding slowly, pretending to understand. "A catwalk. Down leads to the orchestra pit and under the backstage," Ollie went on with a grin. "Divide and conquer again," Ridley said. "Theo and I will head down to survey under the stage. Izzy, Ollie, you take Carter and Layla and head up. We'll meet you on the other side." As Carter followed Layla and the twins up the ladder, his palms began to sweat. He'd never been up so high. "If you're afraid of heights, don't look down," Layla said back to Carter as she crawled out onto the thin, hanging platform. Of course, Carter immediately looked down. Beneath them, the venue had a large balcony and seating for almost 1,000 people. From 80 feet up, all the pre-show workers below looked like miniature dolls walking about. "Keep crawling forward," Carter told himself. When they got to the other side, Carter, Layla, and the Golden siblings began to remove some of the surprises they had in store for Bazo from their backpacks. "We'll take it from here," Izzy said. "You two go ahead. We'll catch up." So they're taking some things out of their backpacks that are surprises that they have in store for Bazo. What do you think they have planned? I'm excited to find out. Layla and Carter nodded. They crawled across the upper skeleton of the great theater. Way down in the pit, the orchestra tuned their instruments with bursts of noise. Carefully, they passed over the wires and ropes holding up the red curtain, dividing the audience from the stage. Then they crawled above the sideshowers and clowns who were setting up for Bazo's big show directly below. Quietly, Layla and Carter moved toward the rear of the catwalk maze. They were about to climb down the back ladder when they heard familiar voices below. "Bobby, listen to reason," Mr. Vernon said. He was speaking in a more serious tone than Carter had ever heard. "If you do this and get caught, you'll go to jail, and not just for a few years this time, for the rest of your life." So they hear Mr. Vernon talking to this mystery Bobby person. Who do you think Bobby is? Carter and Layla leaned forward, just able to see Vernon and who he was talking to. B.B. Bazo. Oh. So that Bobby person, the old friend that Mr. Vernon was talking about, is B.B. Bazo. "What's going on?" Layla whispered. "How does my dad know Bazo?" Carter had no idea, but a sinking feeling gripped his stomach. "Don't act like you care about me," Bazo said scathingly to Vernon. "We haven't been friends in 30 years. "I disagree," Mr. Vernon said. "Don't you remember the old pledge? I still believe every word. As we said in the Emerald Ring, the magic of true friends is that even apart, they can't long be cut off from what lives in the heart." "Don't spout that nonsense to me. That was a lifetime ago," Bazo growled. "I still consider you a friend, Bobby, even if an estranged one." "It wasn't just years that separated us," Bazo chuckled. "You always were a sentimental fool. No wonder you stayed in this wretched town." "If it's so terrible, then why return?" "Isn't it obvious? The Star of Africa was en route to New York City as part of its multi-city tour. I could never have stolen the diamond there. But in this half-wit town, paying off all the right people was easy. As soon as I have that diamond, I'll retire. It's worth millions. I'll never have to work again." "Don't do it, Bobby," Mr. Vernon pleaded. "Cancel the show. We'll go get a sundae at the ice cream parlor like we did when we were kids. It's not too late. You haven't done anything wrong yet." "No, not yet," Bazo said with a cruel smile. He snapped his fingers. "But I'm about to." The walrus and the spider lady jumped out from behind the curtain. The 6-armed woman hit Vernon on the head with a slim silver baton, and the walrus threw a giant canvas sack over him. "Get him ready," Bazo said. "He can take the fall for us." Layla grabbed her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Carter reached over, took her other hand, and squeezed. He wanted to say, "Everything's going to be okay," but he didn't want to lie. All right, so some big things just happened. So, Carter, Layla, Theo, Ridley, Ollie, and Izzy are all working together and to try to stop Bazo from stealing the Star of Africa. So they split up. Ridley and Theo went under the stage. Carter, Layla, Ollie, and Izzy went on the catwalk above the stage, and they started taking things out of their backpacks, surprises that they're leaving for Bazo, though we don't know what these surprises are yet. But then Carter and Layla kept going down the catwalk, and they overheard Mr. Vernon, Layla's dad, talking to B.B. Bozzo. And we discovered that Mr. Vernon and Bozzo were friends. At least they were a long time ago, and they had sort of a falling out. But Mr. Vernon still cares about Bobby, or B.B. Bozzo, and is trying to convince him, don't do this. You're going to get arrested, you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. This is a terrible thing to do, and it has terrible consequences. Don't do this. Please stop. Let's go get an ice cream. Let's have a talk as friends. And did it work? Nope. B.B. Bozzo basically said, no way. I'm going to do this. I've paid off the right people, and I'm going to steal this diamond and retire and have millions of dollars. And if that weren't bad enough already, that B.B. Bozzo said he's still going to go through with stealing the Star of Africa, he's also now basically kidnapped Mr. Vernon. The spider lady whacked him over the head, the walrus threw him in a big sack, and what did Bozzo say at the very end? He said, get him ready, he can take the fall for us. He can take the fall for us. What does that mean? Does that mean that they're going to make him fall off the stage? No. When he says he's going to take the fall for us, it means they're going to basically blame Mr. Vernon for the stolen diamond. So they're going to make it look like Mr. Vernon is the one that stole it, and get him arrested instead. So that's bad news bears, my friends. Layla is understandably devastated because now not only do they need to stop Bozzo from stealing the diamond, but she needs to save her dad. So this is not a great situation, and I don't know what they're gonna do. What do you think? This is a tricky one. All right, my friends, till next time. Bye.